Hello and welcome to my channel. I have an expansion set for Marvel Crisis Protocol's miniatures game. This pack features Deadpool, Bob, Agent of Hydra, and a taco van. So this is kit number CP45. Now I am going to make some alterations to this kit, but first off let's take a look inside the box. It's nice to see that everything is neatly packed and sectioned off. I'm just going to get rid of this backing board and lay everything out. First up we have the character cards and tokens. These are required to play the game. Next up we have the double-sided assembly sheet, and this is split up into 3 parts: Deadpool, Bob and the taco truck. And this is how all the plastic parts look when laid out. So let's crack on with the assembly. I chose to start off with the truck as this was the most interesting piece for me. I snipped the parts off the sprues and then tidied them up, and then I glued all the parts together using plastic cement, starting off with the chassis and the 2 sides. Now we have a little bit of a structure I can put on the back and the front, and by having these parts on it really gives the model its strength. Next goes on the roof section, and I must say that this is a well engineered kit as all the pieces fit on perfectly. So now I can start adding on the additional details, starting off with the serving hatch. And if you look carefully you see that some model consumables at the front of the hatch. These are all nice little details to have. Next goes on the wing mirrors, and anything that sticks out is automatically fragile, so I have to be careful how I hold this in future. And now I can add the counter to the serving hatch. And I can't forget Deadpool's insignia at the front of the vehicle. All that's left to do now is the underside. I glue a set of wheels to each rod, and while they're setting I can glue on the mud flaps. And once again I can't put any weight on these until the wheels are in place. Next I can glue on the under section, which also had the exhaust mounted to it. Then lastly the wheels can be put into place. And now we just need somebody to drive the van. Both characters have alternate assembly options, so you will end up with a few spares. I'm going to start off by cutting out and assembling this missile, as I have a plan for this. There's a hole on the top of this missile, and that's where you're supposed to peg Deadpool into. But for me that's a little bit too silly, so I'm going to do something different with it. We have 4 3D bases to choose from, and these are quite nice. So I've selected one for Deadpool, and I need to drill a hole so that he can be pegged into it. And I do personally think this looks better than having him dancing on a missile. Now for the rocket, this needs modifying before it goes to Bob. I'll chop the bit off that I don't need, and hopefully I can attach it to the front of the missile launcher like this. But first I need to snip off this paper clip to make a peg, as I plan to have it removable. So now I just need to drill in peg holes at both sides. I still have a hole to fill in, and I'm going to mix up some green stuff to do this, and hopefully I can blend it into the rest of the smoke trail, and then we can slot it into place and see how it looks. I'm pretty pleased with that. It's a little bit ridiculous, but it works. And I also like Deadpool's new setup. I've dug through my Mantic box for some spare pieces to help fill out the scene. And I also have a sprue of food trays, tacos and drinks. But first I just need to chop off this wonky umbrella. So now I can start making it look like an authentic business. Moving on to the painting phase, I prime everything. For the van itself I spray paint on some black primer, as this will also be the base colour. And once that's dried, we can start adding some colour. Because black makes everything hard to see, I dried this on some white everywhere, and this makes it easier to see all the edges. This van is predominantly black and silver, so this may take a while. Then I've got to move on to all the other details, and those include the front and rear lights, as well as the license plate, and not forgetting all the food on the serving hatch. All this detail is tiny and tedious, but it still needs doing. And before I write on the chalkboard on the van, I have a little practice, and this paint pen works quite well. Although I am going to have to keep the text quite small, as this is the smallest I can write. I paint all the windows with a blue wash, and this leaves it with the glossy tint to replicate the glass. There are 3 raised Deadpool emblems on this van. I painted them all white to give me a base to work from. It took me a little while to work out a colour theme, but I eventually settled on hot and spicy. So I went ahead and put yellow on the outside, orange in the mid-level, and then red in the centre. And this way Deadpool gets a stage correct colour. And also I don't forget to paint the eyes black. I don't know the history surrounding this taco van, but I get the impression there's a converted SWAT truck, which is why it's so dark and gritty. Anyway, there are 2 chalkboards on this van, one at the rear, which I'm writing on tacos now, and one on the side, which is the menu. And once again I'm going for the hastily converted look, as if the van was only stolen an hour ago and now is serving tacos. This guy's still a little bit too clean, so I'll give it a dark brown wash, and I'll concentrate my efforts mostly on the lower section before dabbing off the excess with a tissue. I also repeat the same process, except this time using weathering powders. I use a dark and a light brown, and the lighter colours contrast very well against the dark van. And to make sure the powder doesn't come off every time you handle it, I spray the whole van down with a matte sealer. And now it's finally time to paint up Deadpool and Bob. So I went with their standard colour schemes, and that's predominantly red and black for Deadpool, while Bob, Agent of Hydra, is a little bit more colourful. He's mostly green and yellow. The detail on these are quite fine, so I take my time and get it right. Then it's just a matter of painting up the bases, adding the dark wash, followed by a black trim around the rim, and not forgetting the matte sealer to protect the paint. And that's this expansion pack completed, and those extra pieces I added really do help set the scene. Now let's take a look at Deadpool and Bob. The missile is just wedged in there and can be removed at any time, because this model does take up quite a lot of space now. Plus, I do think Deadpool looks much better on his own base rather than dancing on the missile. But that's just my opinion, as I prefer more grounded reality. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.